Aloha, and welcome to our Week 2 episode of What We Did in Hawaii. This will be a fairly short episode as it's not actually a full week, as we only spent 5 nights in South Maui before moving on. We left off heading south from West Maui, and as we rounded McGregor Point, the view over South Maui was pretty unappealing, with heavy rainstorms lashing the coast and the central belt of the island. As we headed up the Pilani Highway, we met these storms head on. Welcome to the sunny south side. However, this was the first bad weather day we had got, and to be honest, it wasn't so bad, and a good job that it hit on a moving day. We arrived at our accommodation, and this had been a bit of a gamble. South Maui has become extremely expensive post-COVID, and even more so as people try to avoid the west side due to the fires. And as this was peak season, we were really struggling to find any affordable accommodation at all. This unit in the Grand Champions Resort was advertised as a treetop unit, offering affordable and private living in this luxurious resort. We have stayed in the Grand Champions before and loved it, so we gave this unit a go, as it was half the price of other accommodations in the area. But half the price means you're going to be sacrificing something. Overall, despite being quite small and offering nothing in the way of views, the unit was fine for our needs, and got us in the heart of Wailea, within striking distance of everything we wanted to see. It had plenty of amenities, including beach chairs, 2 pools, an AC unit, and a semi-functioning kitchen. The views from the lanai were non-existent, but as advertised really. It was absolutely in the trees, and it was really peaceful, at least when the noisy neighbours next door were not in. What wasn't advertised was the abundance of cats. At least 4 lived in the direct vicinity, and that could be an issue for some people. But we love cats, and see this as a real win. After all, we were really missing our little cat Maui, who obviously has to stay home during these trips. After settling in and deciding we were quite happy with our little unit, especially at the price we'd paid, we headed off to do the only thing you can do in the rain: shopping. Stocking up at Safeway on a few essentials for the week. Then on the way back, we stopped off at the famous Moose McGilly Cuddies for their legendary happy hour with $7 Mai Tais and some great food specials. We had a Kalua pork sandwich and the mahi mahi and chips, both excellent. But let's be honest, it's just pretty basic bar food, nothing fancy here. As we left, we were just in time to head across the street for a stunning South Maui sunset. By now the skies had largely cleared, and we enjoyed a wonderful light show to mark our arrival into South Maui. Now, if you were worried that rain would ruin the rest of our trip, and let's be honest, you probably weren't, then your fears will be allayed by the stunning blue skies that we woke up to this morning. We took a quick tour around the surrounding areas to check out the Grand Champions Resort, and then headed off to hit the beaches. First stop, Big Beach. Makina State Park is known for several things. 1, its absolute stunning beauty. 2, its lethal shore break. 3, its proximity to Little Beach and everything that's on show over there. And 4, of course, the legendary Jaws tacos. We will experience all 4 of these today. First stop was a hike over to Little Beach. Yes, this still isn't for us. It's just too naked with too much sausage swinging freely in the wind. So back to Big Beach. However, it's worth the hike over just to check out the point overlooking Big Beach. I mean, look at it. From here, you can also see the ferocity of the shore break, and this is a very calm day. The break here is seriously scary. It has a horrible habit of just rearing up and dropping straight down on your head. Most breaks like this move towards the shore, but at Big Beach, or Breakneck Beach as it has become known, it just stops dead in its tracks, meaning you have to time any duck dive perfectly to avoid a trip to A&E to explain why you ignored all the warnings. After a short time dodging death, I headed out past the breakers. Here the water cleared up and was pretty calm and still, so I headed across the beach parallel to the shore for a really nice and exhilarating swim. This was a pretty extreme endeavour, and not one I would recommend to many, but it was really nice just cruising along in the clear blue waters. There wasn't too much to see, and once at the rocks, I turned around and headed back to whence I came. Back on the beach, after a while soaking up the rays, we started to feel a little cooked as midday approached, and headed out of the sun and off to get some food. The Jaws taco truck, the obvious destination. We grabbed our tacos and burritos, and headed down a dirt track to the small and often overlooked Onauli Beach. Honestly, it's not the most scenic beach, with a dirty coloured rocky sand, but it was nice and secluded and a great spot to eat our tacos. Afterwards, we took a short stroll and found the bay to be filled with turtles. Just standing on the beach, we could see them just a few feet away foraging for food, and we couldn't resist hopping in for a quick swim. Amazing. Finally, we decided to try Malawaka Beach, as this was one beach we had not actually visited in the past. It's a rarity for us in Maui. To be honest, we can see why we have not bothered, as it was very busy. Maybe it was just because it's weekend and this is more of a local beach, but there was scarcely any room, and this was not helped by a large catamaran that pulled up and offloaded around 100 extra tourists. We stayed for a while, but were just a bit nonplussed about it all, so we headed off soon enough. Next stop for us was one of our favourite happy hours, Monkey Pod Kitchen. This restaurant has been raved about in recent years, and we really do like it. However, it doesn't really live up to the hype. Nothing could, but it's still pretty special, and we have always loved the happy hour. But it seems the happiness has slipped a little, and we found it to be pretty expensive, especially for a viewless restaurant in a strip mall. The Mai Tais are amazing, although for us the lilikoi foam basically stops them from being an actual Mai Tai at all, but they are still delicious. We had a few drinks at happy hour prices, then headed off for dinner at our resort pool. We had grabbed some huge steaks at Safeway last night and headed to the grills to char them up. Dinner by the pool with the sun setting and a few Maui brews, their perfect evening. We really didn't have a lot planned for this leg of the trip, and our second day was just more of the same. Beaches and happy hours. We started the day early as England were playing their first knockout game of the Euros, and kick-off was 7 AM Hawaiian time. We won and got through to the next leg, but we didn't do it with any style, but it was nice to watch the game by the pool. After this, we headed to the celebrity hotspot of Wailea Beach. However, like Malawaka Beach yesterday, it was pretty rammed, so we headed over the Wailea beach path to Polo Beach, which was much quieter. Well, Kate did. I swam along the rocky headland to the beach, one of the best one-way snorkels on the island. However, we need to preface this with the usual caveats. This is remote, open and exposed. Sharks have been known to frequent these waters, and if you get in trouble you are on your own and in a world of hurt. Only venture out here if you are particularly experienced or stupid. I'm a little bit of both, so got to experience a mind-blowing snorkel sight. The number of turtles was incredible. Honestly, every time I put the GoPro away, another would pop up. These waters are wilder and more remote than many, and it was a real dream to be snorkeling alone with the myriad of turtles and fish out on these rocky outcrops. I even found a friendly mermaid. After a while exploring the rocks, bommies and inlets, I had made my way round to Polo Beach, where I hauled out and me and Kate sat in the sun together for an hour or two on Polo Beach. Heading back to the car park at Wailea was an issue, as I had left my shoes over at Wailea as I swam over to Polo Beach, and the path was now scorching hot, baked in the Maui sun. We dried off at the car and then headed along the Wailea beach path past the stunning resorts and beautiful beaches of this part of Maui. We spotted even more sea turtles along the way, and we got as far as Makapu Beach where the path runs out before heading back to hit another happy hour, this time Gannon's. We really love Gannon's, however we have always hated the name. Finally, someone in charge agrees and has actually renamed the restaurant to Gather on Maui. Much better. But for many, this will still be Gannon's for a good few years. The setting for this place is insanely stunning. Nestled slightly up in the Haleakala foothills, it offers elevated views of the ocean over some of the most stunning manicured gardens you can ever imagine. You can literally just feel the stress melting away. Happy hour is also really good, and we had some brilliant Mai Tais along with a selection of pupus, loaded potato croquettes, smoked catch dip and some amazing barbecue ribs. This was not a cheap happy hour, but we got tons of food and it was all excellent. We sat out on the lanai overlooking the ocean in total bliss, so the $100 plus check was no issue at all. We headed over to the Wailea shops for a while, but we're not really in the mood for shopping, so we didn't stay long. The evening only really got better from here, as we headed down to Ulua Beach and took in one of the most spectacular sunsets we have ever seen. Although, we have high hopes for tomorrow to beat even this one into submission. After 2 really relaxing days, today was going to be more of an adventure day, and quite a long one at that. First stop was another 2 beaches, because we just hadn't seen enough yet. First was Kanaha Beach Park, over on the north side of the island. This was just a quick stop for research purposes. This is a great beach, as it's literally 5 minutes from the airport, and if you can't wait for your first dose of Hawaiian sand, you can be here in literally minutes, or you can while away the last few hours or minutes of your trip before heading off for your flight. We were amazed that even here there were turtles popping up out of the choppy and murky waters. There have always been a lot of turtles on Maui, but there were staggering amounts this year. After this, we headed to Huaqipa Beach. This is the secret weapon of turtle spotting. If you can't find them anywhere else, you will be sure to see them here. But we felt this was a little pointless this trip, as we had seen them everywhere. Still, it's a stunning beach and we love watching the surfers here, and it's amazing to see the turtles hauled out on the beach. We love the fact the turtle resting area is coned off and volunteers stop any tourist funny business. A must stop if you are over on this part of the island. After this, we headed into Paia. This quirky little hippie hangout has become a little bit of a de facto second capital of Maui. A lot of the small business owners from Lahaina's Front Street have headed over here to help recover from the loss of their business. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, as this once sleepy part of Maui is now pretty hectic, and that does not suit everybody. We had a great time just checking out the various boutiques and stores, and we bought some jewellery from one of Lahaina's business refugees. We also grabbed lunch at the fantastic Paia fish market. Beautiful, fresh fish cooked perfectly and not too pricey considering. The menu changes daily depending what's in the market, and we were lucky enough to get some opaka or pink snapper, a really prized fish, and it was absolutely delicious. After lunch, we headed out along the Hana Highway, although we didn't. This will be our first trip to Maui where we hadn't driven the highway, but we wanted to just head out a short way just to get that vibe. But soon after, we cut inland and headed up into upcountry Maui to spend the afternoon exploring and looking for pineapples. We were planning on doing a pineapple farm tour, but the timings just didn't really work out for us, so we headed off to try and find some pineapple fields ourselves. While we found the fields, we could not really see any growing fruit, so we left a bit disappointed. Instead, we headed to Makawao to grab a giant cookie from the Maui Cookie Lady, which were awesome. We then trekked up towards the Kula lavender farms, which smelt incredible, before heading right up the Waipololi Road to get some epic views of the island. We could have just stayed up here and waited for sunset, but we had a date with the summit. We backtracked a little to the summit road before beginning our ascent of the Haleakala highway. There was a little scattered cloud around, and as we climbed up the mountain through the forest, things looked a little Jurassic. Then we burst through the cloud at around the park entrance, and from here it was nothing but blue skies as we headed up to the top. You need to pay the entry fee at all times including sunset, but no reservation is needed unlike sunrise. We had cut our timings a little fine however, and some slow drivers on the summit road meant we may not have made the sunset, but we arrived with just enough time in hand. We also had to park in the lower lot, which would not have normally been a problem, but at this altitude, the short hike had us wheezing and puffing our way up into the thin air. At the top of Red Hill, it was pretty busy, but we found a nice spot and just enjoyed the stunning views as the sun set fire to the skies. The colours went from yellow and oranges to bright reds followed by deep blues and purples. It's a wonderful sight and one of the best views in the world. However, there is one better, and we're about to see it. We headed back down to the car, freshened up in the restrooms, and then hunkered down in the car with the heater on full blast as we waited for twilight to become astronomical night. We didn't have too long to wait, and on this moonless night the skies turned an inky black in no time and the cosmos opened up above us. It's hard to describe just how incredible it is seeing the Milky Way stretched out across the sky. Of course, these photos are enhanced, but the galactic core was clearly visible to the naked eye, smeared on the black canvas above us. There were more stars visible than you can possibly conceive, and overall, it is one of the most awe-inspiring sights imaginable. We do like the fact that at sunset, you are not on the clock. You can enjoy the stars for as long as you like, or at least until your fingers and toes start freezing off. There is no fear that the sun will come up and turn the nighttime into day. Heading back down the hill at night is always fun, but as we were quite late, at least we had the road to ourselves. We then realised we had not eaten for quite a while, so we stopped off at a Sonic for some super fast food before heading home to bed. Wow, this trip has flown by, and this is our last full day on the island. We had no real plans for today, so we just went with where the mood took us, and to start with, that was Kamiola Beach 1. Here we settled down for some nice chill time. The surf was pretty rough, but still manageable, so I headed off on a free beach adventure, swimming round to Kamiola 2, hiking the length of the beach, and then over to Kamiola 3. The snorkeling conditions were not the best and visibility pretty poor, but the life was okay and I saw a good few turtles. Walking back, the ground was a mixture of spiky and red hot, meaning my feet were pretty ruined by the time I got back to Kamiola 1. We then headed over to the first headland on foot, as Kate wanted to see the turtles one last time. We then headed out of the blazing midday sun and back to the condo for lunch. Afterwards, we hit our final beach of this leg, the gorgeous Kiawakapu beach. The wind was getting up now and the surf getting worse, so I slipped in for one last snorkel. This was pretty much a write-off, as the conditions were just too choppy and visibility was plumbing. Eventually, I gave up and headed out only to find a huge windstorm roll in, sending people running for cover and rendering the seas unswimmable. It's a good job I went in when I could. As the beachgoers cleared out, the kite surfers miraculously appeared and headed out into the wind. We hiked the full length of Kiawakapu Beach and over to Mokopu, and it was all but deserted. We then packed up one last time and saying a fond farewell to the ocean. Today was a Tuesday, and we can only eat one food on a Tuesday, and that is tacos. So we headed over to Moose's, or more accurately their sister restaurant, Friends Mexican, for their Taco Tuesday special. Giant margs for $6.50 and tacos from $4. It's a great deal and we filled our boots. We were flying out of Kahului tomorrow at 12:50, so we spent the evening packing and getting ready after one last sunset on Kamiola Beach 2. Our final morning on Maui, and to be honest, we didn't do so much. We just got ready and then left for the airport. We stopped off at Sugar Beach for a last view of the ocean and then headed to the rental car facility. Here we handed in our charger and caught the quaint little tram over to the terminal. We grabbed a bite to eat at the Beach Bar and Grill at the airport, there isn't much choice, then headed over to the Hawaiian Lounge, which is air conditioned, comfortable, but really basic with just coffee and juice on offer. We then boarded our little Hawaiian Airlines puddle jumper and headed off towards Kauai. We got some stunning views of Maui as we flew out of Kahului Airport, along with some nice views of Lanai, but overall we were on the wrong side of the plane and we just saw the ocean. There is not much in the way of service on these short flights, but come on, they're only 40 minutes, so no sooner as we had finished our complimentary pog juice, we were descending down into Kauai, ready for the next week in paradise. So we'll catch you over in the next video as we explore the Garden Isle. Make sure you like and subscribe as we have loads of Hawaii content coming up as well as that video. Mahalo for watching!